Shen didn't expect the world to unravel from a single sentence. Not a paragraph, not a confession, just one quiet line she typed between rehearsals, thinking no one would notice. But when her post went live, fans froze, because the line didn't just sound emotional. It sounded personal. It sounded like it was for someone. And it sounded unmistakably like it was meant for Dylan Wang. For hours, the internet was on fire. Millions of comments, theories, rewinds, breakdowns. Because the one line she wrote, the one that blindsided everyone, didn't mention his name, but it didn't have to. Not with the history they share. Not with the tension that has lingered between them for years, even when both tried to pretend it wasn't there. It began on an ordinary night, the kind that usually scrolls by unnoticed. Shen had been quiet for weeks. No updates, no selfies, no behind-the-scenes clips, just silence. A silence heavy enough for fans to wonder if something had happened. But then, out of nowhere, she posted a photo. A dimly lit dressing room, a half-open window, soft light brushing across her face. And underneath it, only one line. Some people stay, even when they're not supposed to. That was it. No emojis, no explanation, no tags, just that. And almost instantly, the comments turned into a battlefield. Because everyone knew exactly who the line sounded like. Everyone knew exactly who some people referred to. Everyone knew exactly who had stayed in her life long after the cameras stopped rolling and long after they pretended their story had ended. Dylan Wang. It didn't matter that she didn't tag him. It didn't matter that his name was nowhere on the screen. What mattered was the weight of the sentence. The tone, the softness, the ache beneath it. People started analyzing the lighting, the expression on her face, the timing of the post, even the choice of the word stay. Because that word has been tied to them since the beginning. Since Meteor Garden. Since their first interview. Since he looked at her during a press conference and said, almost jokingly, "I'm not going anywhere." Since she blushed and tried to hide it, but the camera caught everything. Fans remembered the moments. The hand holding behind a prop door. The way he softened his voice only when speaking to her. The number of times she glanced at him before answering a question. And every time she tried to explain, every time she said it was just acting, fans nodded politely, but they never believed her. So when she wrote that line, it felt like the truth slipping out. A truth she kept guarded. A truth she never intended to reveal. A truth she had avoided for years because it always came with consequences. Rumors, gossip, pressure, expectations, and headlines she didn't ask for. But this time something was different. Something felt raw. Unfiltered, a little sad, a little hopeful, and deeply, unmistakably personal. What fans didn't know was that earlier that same day, Shen had received a message that brought back memories she had spent months trying to move past. A message from the one person she wasn't ready to talk to again. A simple, unexpected line from Dylan Wang. "I saw your interview. You look tired. Are you okay?" It was a small thing, a thoughtful thing. But to Shen, it was too much, because he always knew when to ask. He always knew when she wasn't fine. He always found a way back into her life, even when the world expected their paths to stay apart. She didn't respond. Not immediately. Not later. She left the message unread, convincing herself that silence would protect them both. But the truth was that his message lingered in her chest for hours. It replayed in her mind as she rehearsed. It echoed between takes. It returned again when she sat alone in that dressing room, watching the light fade outside the window. And that's when she wrote the line. Some people stay, even when they're not supposed to. It wasn't meant to be dramatic. It wasn't meant to spark a frenzy. It wasn't meant to restart the story she'd been trying to close. It was simply her heart speaking. But the world heard it differently. Minutes after the post went live, Dylan Wang opened his phone and froze. Because he knew the line wasn't random. He knew it wasn't poetic coincidence. He knew exactly what it meant. And he knew who it was meant for. He stared at the screen longer than he should have. Long enough for people around him to notice his silence. Long enough for his manager to whisper, "Don't react." Not this time. But Dylan wasn't thinking about consequences. He wasn't thinking about fans or agencies or gossip pages. He was thinking about her. He remembered their last conversation. The unspoken words. The tension that neither of them dared to name. The distance that grew not from anger, but from fear. Fear of ruining each other's careers. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of wanting something that the world didn't know how to accept. For days, Dylan had been debating whether to reach out, whether to check on her, whether to ask how she was really doing. And the moment he sent that message, he regretted it. Not because he didn't mean it, but because he knew it would pull her heart back into a place she'd tried to escape. So when he saw the line she posted, he felt everything at once. Pride, sadness, hope, a sting of longing he couldn't shake. But he didn't comment. He didn't like the post. He didn't react. Not publicly. Instead, he typed a message he rewrote 5 times. If that line was about me, I'm still here. And then he deleted it. Because he knew it wasn't time. Not yet. Not when the world was already exploding with theories. Meanwhile, Shen sat in her car hours later, staring at the chaos unfolding online. Her post had reached 10 million views. Hashtags were trending. Media pages were speculating. Fans were analyzing every pixel. And she felt something between guilt and relief. She hadn't meant to reveal anything. But she also hadn't lied. The sentence was real. The feeling behind it was real. And the person it was about was real. It wasn't long before her team called. Take it down, they urged. It's too obvious. It looks like a confession. You know how people will twist this. But Shen didn't delete it. For once, she didn't listen to the fear. She didn't fold under pressure. She didn't retreat into silence. Because maybe, just maybe, she wanted the world to see that she still cared. Not desperately, not dramatically, just quietly, in the way that mattered. Hours later, Dylan finally posted something too. Not a statement, not a denial, not a joke, just a song. A soft, acoustic track with one message written beneath. Some people don't leave. He didn't tag her. He didn't reference her post. He didn't clarify anything. But everyone knew. Everyone felt the echo. Everyone saw the connection. 2 posts, 2 lines, 2 hearts dancing around the truth they were both too afraid to speak out loud. By morning, fans had stitched the posts together, creating timelines, comparisons, emotional breakdowns. The internet was convinced the story wasn't over, that something had shifted, that something old was resurfacing, that something unspoken had found its voice. And maybe they were right. A third time, her heartbeat softening with every word. She didn't message him. She didn't call. She didn't step back into the past. All she did was smile quietly to herself. The first real smile she had allowed in days. Because even if the world didn't know the full story, even if she and Dylan weren't ready to rewrite TH,